Glad if you is.
I'd like to bring this June 13th business meeting to order for the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Craig.
Here.
Mr. Pitch.
Here.
Dr. Carpenter.
Present.
Ms. Red Zach.
Present.
President Sessions.
Here.
Kristen Alexander.
Here.
My picture here.
Noda.
Here.
Mr.
Why does he have me on here? Listen.
It's
That's
Rhoda.
Rhoda.
And Nancy, you're not.
No, I'm not. I told my computer not to put me on at all, with audio.
Oh, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, so I'm not, there's no audio.
Is there any additional emergency items? Okay, we'll go to registered comments. First up, we have Peter Vancherry, our auditor from Hossack, Specht and Utzel.
All right, thank you very much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So you should have received a copy of the DCD audit report, the annual audit and financial report that was submitted to DCD. So that was submitted in last month. So I just want to go over a couple items within there. So I don't know if anybody has a copy of that or if you want me to share that or exactly what we're looking at there, but so on the general fund, when looking at the end of the year as of 12/31/22, the general fund has a cash balance of $1,338,085. So $1,338,085. A couple of the liabilities are in there. So some of the ARPA money has not been expended. So we have showed that as a deferred revenue, deferred expense and deferred liability on the financial statement. So that liability, along with some fire escrow money that's being held in cash, is sitting as a liability. That's $282,000. The other liability is the balance that's due to the sewer fund that's accumulated over the last number of years. So that liability at the end of the year that's due to sewer is $598,914. So that's funds that have been collected, deposited in the general fund, but is actually due back to the sewer fund for their expenses. So at the end of the year, your fund balance in your general fund is $457,811. So looking at that, when we compare that to the prior year, your prior year fund balance was a negative $6,220. So as you can see, there was a significant increase between the 2 years. So that means that the revenues exceeded the expenses in 2022 by $464,031. Now, when we look at that and compare that to the prior year, your general fund excess revenues in 2021 were $215,000, excuse me. So you can see there still was a bigger increase in 22 than the prior year. Now, part of that was real estate tax went up $168,000, with the majority of that coming from the increase in the millage that the council had approved of 1.9 mils. The other bigger number there that changed between the 2 years, between 21 and 22, there was an increase in earned income tax collections of about $45,000. So those two numbers really account for the majority of that change between 21 to 22 as to why your revenues actually went up from where you were. So the other funds that we look at are in that report are special revenue funds. So in that column of special revenue funds includes the highway aid fund, the police asset seizure fund, and the sewer fund. So the highway aid fund balance at the end of the year was 110,413. And as you're aware that you can only use those funds for, specific purposes related to highway repairs, maintenance, or other purchases related to the highway. So those funds really are restricted for that purpose. The police asset seizure has just a little under $11,000 in that fund. And then the sewer fund, fund balance is $885,350. So the increase in that sewer fund between the 2 years was $115,000. So that means that your revenues that you collected were $115,000 more than what your expenses were for that fund in 2022. So some of that difference in the prior year, that change in the sewer fund, the prior year was about $217,000. The reason for the difference is, if you remember in prior years, there was a delay in depositing cash and checks from the water authority. Well, that sort of got caught up in 2021. So that's why that was a higher number in 21 of income compared to the current year. So currently those deposits are being made in a timely manner. That started in 2021, mid 2021. So those deposits are being made currently and sort of on a current basis here. The other fund that's reported in there is the trust and agency fund. That's related to the police pension fund only. That's the only fund that's reported on the state report is the police pension. The PMRS information was not available at the time of the audit for 2022. They've been behind the last number of years significantly in terms of getting reporting financial information to all their all the boroughs and municipalities that they manage funds for. So in the police pension fund, the net assets at the end of the year were $484,000. One thing to realize in there, there's a decrease in that fund from 21 to 22, mainly due to the unrealized loss that was recognized in the statements. As I'm sure everybody's aware, at the end of 2022, the market was down, so the assets that were being held in that fund were down. So the unrealized loss in 2022 was $78,349. So that's sort of a quick summary of the various items within that report. At the end of that report is our opinion letter. It states that the financial statements and the schedules that are related reported on there are fairly presented in accordance with the DCD regulations and the modified cash basis of accounting. So the statements are all on a cash basis, so there's no accruals or any items like that. So that opinion is at the end there. So it just talks about that we did not report the non-uniform pension fund, but besides that, everything is reported fairly in all material respects in accordance with the DCD rules and regulations. So that real quickly is a quick summary of the audit report. If there's any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer anything.
Anybody have any questions for Peter? What's that? Yeah.
Peter, how would you describe our borough's overall health financially?
As of the end of 2022, in much better position than you've been over the last number of years. As you can see, at the end of 2021, you had a negative fund balance of $6,200. Now looking at it at the end of 2022, you're at $457,000. So it's moving forward to the correct, to a positive number there. So when you look at fund balance, typically it should be around 10% of your fund balance or of your expenditures. So that would be about $150,000. So you're in good shape in terms of what that fund balance is currently. That number does fluctuate obviously as things move forward, and depending on what projects you have coming forth. One thing to remember, you have no capital project fund, so you have no fund set aside specifically for any future capital projects that need done. Everything is being funded either through grants or through general revenues each year. So that's something else you sort of need to consider too. But overall, much better than where you've ever been, in the last number of years that we've been doing the audit.
So Peter, you're like that 457,000, that keeps building like it has. Would you suggest us putting some money into a capital projects fund just to have it there?
I think it would make sense. You probably should have funds set aside for unexpected expenditures that do come up. because right now, if that does build a little bit more, it's probably not a bad idea to open a capital project fund and put some funds over there to start accruing some from funds for unexpected expenditures or any future projects that the borough is looking to have, to approve and have completed.
Very good, thank you.
Peter, we did pass a policy for a minimum fund balance of, what was it, 2
Months.
months worth of operating expenses, so that's in place. And I'm just wondering also if you have any recommendations in terms of the sewer fund, any of this money going back into that.
I mean, it's really up to what the future projects are in that fund. I think right now what we've done over the last couple of years, we've tried to ensure that council's insured and the borough's insured that the amounts that are being incurred for expenses that maybe previously were being paid by the general fund are now being recorded over into the sewer fund. So trying to capture all the true expenses of the sewer operations in that sewer fund to offset some of those costs. I know you continually expend money on the compliance agreement with Al Casan and Allegheny County. So those costs will continue to be in there.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Stephanie, you good?
I'm good. It will, once approved, it will be up on the website.
What's that?
Once, well, it'll be up on the website tomorrow.
Oh, okay, once we approve it. All right, since there's no other questions, Peter, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very
It's been a
good job.
pleasure working for the borough, and thanks Stephanie for her help while we were out there doing the audit too. So thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for being patient with me, Peter.
We're expecting good things next year too, so no problem at all. Appreciate it. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Peter.
Bye.
Okay, the next we have Shirley Davis with the Twin Borough Ministry.
Mhm. How do I do that?
How do
Okay.
you-
Go on the bottom.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yep.
Hi, I am Shirley Davis with the Twin Borough Health Ministry. I'm here tonight to ask for a couple of things for the summer lunch project that we're doing at Verona United Methodist Church. I think Stephanie, you said everybody aware of this. Okay. All right. The summer lunch started yesterday. The first day we had 16 kids. Today we had 31.
Wow.
So that was great. Also, Annette had stopped up by and said that they had leftover Huggies that she's gonna maybe have Jay deliver to the camp, which thank you very much for that, whoever it comes from. The other thing I wanted to ask for is that Burner Field is supposed to be closed, which it was closed today, but I wasn't aware of it. But it's supposed to be closed from the 16th of June till the 30th of June. And maybe possibly the first 2 days. So what I wanted to ask council, is it possible for us to take from where you go down the alley behind the church to Center Avenue 2 days a week? From say like 10:30, I'm sorry, the camp starts at 8:30. We'll be inside till 9:30 with breakfasts. So from 9:30 to possibly 11 to block the street off to let the kids play there for some outside recreation.
On Heron.
On
On hand from the alley to center, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we talked about that.
At our workshop
Yeah,
meeting. You just
okay.
need to get me the exact dates when you're ready, and they'll bring the stuff out.
I'll be ready for Tuesday and Thursday for next week.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Okay, now I knew that AJ was bringing up the Huggies. If he wants to bring the
Horses.
horses up, I can store them on the ramp of the church or up on the front porch of the church,
Okay,
so that nothing happens to them.
got it.
Or put them inside, whichever you prefer.
They have new ones, they're very light. So
Oh,
that'll
that's
be a
great.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask, the camp is going to do very well. We have 6 counselors, which we pay stipends to at $600. We have 1 head crafter that gets $1,200. And the kitchen person is paid by the county. So the thing that we're paying for is outside things that we bring into the summer camp. There is a lady in Oakland, her name is Amanda. I can't think of what the name of the group is, but she is bringing down, we only have to pay for materials. So I wanted to ask the borough if they would still do their donation that they do each year.
Mhm.
You know off the top of your head how much that was?
It was 500.
Mhm.
And if that's a little hard for you, you can cut it down if you need to. The dinner for the end of this month is going to be held at the Verona Methodist Church as always. It will be done by the Oakmont Elks. It will be stuffed shells, meatballs, salad, desserts, and drinks. Last month, we went first month inside for a long time. And so we had 72 dinners inside. We had 70 that we took out.
Wow.
And then at the very end, we were cleaning up and it was 6:45 and the dinner was over at 6:30. So I was bringing something to take to the fire halls or down here. I got 15 people. So I just did the takeouts and let it go. So everything's going well. And I think everything will go well. And if there's, I wanted to ask you, Ray, are they doing the 4th of July or something in July at the fire hall?
You know what? Yeah, they're having a Toys for Tots.
Okay, are they gonna do like a Chinese auction or anything?
Yes.
I would like to donate a basket to
Okay.
that. Okay,
Okay, you can get it to one of us or,
yes,
drop it off on Monday night at the fire hall.
okay,
And
all
we're
right,
there from 6:30 on,
okay,
or get it, you can get it to one of us.
yeah, that's fine, okay.
Would appreciate it.
I have a nice basket put together already. I just have to add a few things to it. The other thing, the camp starts at 8:30, breakfast is till 9:30. Then at 9:30, the breakfast is cut off. Then we go to lunch at 11:30. If we have more kids that come in, we decided to do lunch 11:30 to 12:30 and then 12:30 to 1:30. So there will be 2 shifts of lunches if we need it. But I was utterly taken back with 31 kids today.
Good.
So, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for all you do. Okay. Next, we have Todd Rosenbaum from the American Heart Association.
Well, good evening. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes,
Wonderful. Thank you for your time. Again, I'm Todd Rosenbaum here on behalf of the American Heart Association. Just wanted to say thank you to Mayor Recupero and Councilmember Redzak Showalter for your leadership and support in issuing this proclamation in support of the Active People Healthy Nation initiative. We know that being more active benefits everyone and helps us live longer, healthier lives. So just wanted to say thank you very much and applaud your efforts for making it easier for our friends and neighbors to get physically active. Thanks for your time this evening.
thank you. At this time, we're going to have a reading of the Active People Healthy Nation proclamation. There's a few council people that are going to read this.
So I'd like to invite anyone who's comfortable standing and reading to join me in front to read our proclamation.
Yeah, we're still hopping in the waiting room.
Yeah.
All the way to flag and fall. So we'll start with Sylvia. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Each whereas.
Okay, we ready?
We're ready. Thank you. Thank you, Todd. And if anyone has any questions for Todd or this very important initiative, please feel free to ask them afterwards. And thank you all for joining us. Verona Borough is very proud to support this initiative. So here we go. Whereas the Borough of Verona, Pennsylvania recognizes the importance of providing access to safe and convenient places to be physically active for people regardless of age, race, income, socioeconomic status, disability status, and geographic location.
Whereas approximately 1 in 5 children and 2 in 5 adults in the US have obesity.
Whereas the physical activity guidelines for Americans recommend that children ages 6 through 17 years do 60 minutes or more of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity each day, and adults ages 18 years and older do at least 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity activity, such as brisk walking.
Whereas only half of the adults and 1/4 of youth get the recommended amounts of aerobic physical activity they need to help reduce and prevent chronic diseases.
Whereas physical activity is vital for healthy aging and can reduce the burden of chronic diseases and prevent early death.
Whereas physically active people generally live longer and are at risk for serious health problems, are at less risk for serious health problems like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and some cancers. And for people with chronic diseases, physical activity can help manage these conditions and complications.
Whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is leading Active People, Healthy Nation, SM, not sure what that means. A national initiative to help 27 million Americans become more physically active by 2027.
Whereas communities can support active people, Healthy Nation by implementing 1 or more of 7 evidence-based strategies recommended by CDC to increase physical activity across sectors and settings.
Whereas building active and walkable communities can help increase levels of retail economic activity and employment, increase property values, support neighborhood revitalization, and reduce healthcare costs.
Whereas walkable communities can improve traffic safety for people who walk, ride bicycles, and drive.
Whereas the Borough of Verona, Pennsylvania recognizes its ability to expand achievable, measurable, and sustainable efforts to increase physical activity across the community by supporting Active People, Healthy Nation strategies.
Whereas it is important to ensure that longtime residents have the opportunity to benefit from increased community investment and that community improvement projects do not result in community displacement.
Whereas every Active People, Healthy Nation strategy can be designed to support the goal of equitable and inclusive access to opportunities for physical activity.
Therefore, effective June 1st, 2023, the Borough of Verona, led by Borough Council, recognizes that physical activity is one of the best things adults, children, and families in Verona can do to improve their health. And in light of the foregoing considerations, Verona hereby commits to supporting Active People, Healthy Nation strategies by implementing the following strategies.
Activity-friendly routes to everyday destinations. This strategy will help to make it safe and easy to walk, bicycle, or wheelchair roll for people of all ages and abilities by improving the design of Verona to connecting routes such as sidewalks, trails, bicycle lanes, and public transit to destinations such as grocery stores, schools, work sites, libraries, parks, or healthcare facilities.
Access to places for physical activity. This strategy will create or enhance access to places for physical activity and provides information to encourage their use. Places will include VOPP, which is Verona, Oakmont, Penn Hills, and Plum Trail, public parks and trails, fitness and recreational facilities, schools and universities, malls, senior centers, and work sites. Information may involve training, incentives, and teaching about healthy behaviors such as the recently approved active transportation plan.
And last but not least, school and youth programs. This strategy uses a combination of approaches to increase physical activity before, during, and after school. Components may include physical education, recess, classroom physical activity, staff involvement before or after school programs such as free or low cost access to team and individual sports and intramural programs, and family and community engagement such as summer camp at the Verona Methodist Church, RAA, Twin Borough Soccer, and flag football. We will have a copy of this available on our website for anyone who's interested. Thank you for joining us for our proclamation. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. At this time, we'll hear comments from the public. Approach a podium, state your name and address. You have keep it limit to 3 minutes. Hi.
Hi, I'm Chris McBride, 9 North Avenue.
Is it on?
Is it on? We good? Great. Oh.
You say that again? I got your name. What's your address?
439 North Avenue. I'm across from Trish. Say that. I'm down the street from Sylvia. You're my neighbor. Oh. Hi, so from what I understand, there's a question about Zoom calls, about continuing with the Zoom meetings. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, so as a single parent, you've all met my children because they were here during the meetings, right? And my son got to speak in front of you all, and you left a lasting impression on him because he was able to communicate to adults about what concerned him. Now, being a parent and a single parent means also I do have a busy schedule. And Mr. Rogers said, find the doers and you'll get things done. And a lot of these people on the board tonight are actually people who volunteer, but their schedules may not permit them to be here in person because of family or children or work schedules. And I'm here tonight because my son doesn't have swim team because it's raining. Otherwise, I would have to log in to be able to speak with you all about it. I'd like you to reconsider continuing with Zoom meetings just because the people at home are also a resource, even if they're going through a difficult time right now. So we don't know who's a graphic designer, who's a fundraiser, who's free on Saturdays to take tickets for our events. So I implore you to continue that access. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Christine. Have a good afternoon.
Anybody else?
Rhoda's already unmuted.
Donald turn his off. Rhoda, Donald had turned his
We're in the
off.
same room.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, with echo.
Okay, I, as Chris, am very disappointed from what I'm hearing that you want to do away with Zoom meetings. And if I'm not mistaken, all of you as candidates had said that we need to improve communication with the borough, with the residents and transparency. And that indeed, doing away with Zoom meetings is going against all of your platforms. If indeed you were sincere when you were saying your platforms. So I'd be very disappointed if you did away with Zoom meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Jacko, that's her.
Laura Jacko?
Hello, Laura Jacko, 437 North Avenue. I remember there was some feedback at the last meeting regarding making sure we had our names and faces, even though that was the first time I heard that. So I wanted to make sure that you can see that I am here and this is in fact me. I did see that on the agenda, we're talking again about what service we'll be using to conduct online meetings going forward. And I did say something last time, however, I wanted to bring maybe like some visuals that might help people understand a little bit more. So this is the visual, I don't know if everyone can see, for what is equality versus what is equity. And giving everybody the exact same thing, as you can see, does not necessarily work for everybody. In this picture, you can see some people are taller, some people are disabled, some people are shorter, for example. However, when everybody has the tools that they need to participate, they can all participate equally and fully. For me and other parents, as you've heard from, and maybe even some disabled people in our borough, what we need to participate fully in our borough is equity, is this accommodation that's has been offered for many, many years now, that will allow us to listen in on what's happening, comment on what's happening, be involved with our borough. That's something that I think we should all be proud of, that we have a lot of people that want to hear, listen, and be involved. And I would make sure that everybody knows that instead of striving for giving everybody literally the same thing and just having, you know, it just being open at the borough where only people who have access to the borough or time or what have you can do it, equity is what we should really be striving for. And getting closer to equity is what we have with having this availability for an online participation. I also want to, again, just point out that there are those in our borough who have disabilities, for example, that might make it very difficult for them to get down to the borough building, and they might want to be participatory as well. In case we weren't familiar with the term ableism, for example, I wanted to point that out that ableism is the discrimination and social prejudice against people with disabilities based on the belief that typical abilities are superior. I think that that's something that we really need to take to heart, to think about if we're really serving everybody as best as we can when we're making these decisions. And I would, again, as Rhoda had mentioned, like to hold people to account for the promises they made when their constituents were voting for them. So in conclusion, I would request that you listen to the input of your constituents and continue to serve them by allowing us to participate as best as we can using online services for those of us who require them to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Jennifer next.
Yeah, Rhoda has her hand up again. We thought you were going to people that haven't spoken.
Okay, you know what? It's my sister.
Wait,
My sister is using my computer.
Rhoda.
Yes.
wait, Jen was first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Jennifer.
Could you mute yourself, please?
Am I good to speak?
Yeah, Jen.
Yes.
Okay, I hope I don't have stickers on my face. I just realized I did. I'm Jen Marasco-Kuhn. I live at 455 North Avenue. And I think the three people who spoke before me had very great points regarding the virtual option for council meetings. You know, we all went through a really hard time during the pandemic, and there was, you know, a lot of bad that happened, but there was a lot of good that came out of it. And, you know, the ability to connect virtually, you know, for work, for public service meetings, and for socialization is something good that came out of it. And it's something that I really think we shouldn't be forgetting after the pandemic. We truly should be embracing this still. Laura brought up a lot of good points about those in the community who might have different abilities. And I just want to point out that I am a parent to two daughters, one who has special needs. She has a rare genetic form of epilepsy, and at any moment she could be hospitalized. Many of you have experienced this through knowing our family. And it's been really wonderful to be able to participate virtually because I've actually been in the hospital and been able to voice my opinion for our family and our needs. My husband ran a food truck during the pandemic, and some of the decisions council was going to make were going to impact our family and his business. And I was able to voice our opinion while in the hospital, taking care of my daughter, but also trying to take care of my family who reside in this borough. So I just want to speak to my family's personal situation and others who may not be physically able to be present in the borough building. You shouldn't have to be present in order to be able to know what's going on in the town, especially when the technology is available nowadays. All right, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you for tuning in from the hospital.
Rhoda?
Okay, this is, my sister's using my computer.
Hi,
Address? Your
this
ad-
is Denise Jamelis, 734 3rd Street, Verona, PA. I'll make it short and sweet. I hope you retain the use of Zoom during council meetings. Let's not go back to the dark ages. Thank you.
Thanks, Denise. Anybody else?
No, she just had to take it down.
Hello, this is Angela. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't have the raise your hand icon, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to speak. So I apologize. Is it okay if I start?
Go ahead.
Okay, Angela Occapenny, 521 Center Avenue. I just wanted to make it public that I did send a letter to all of council and Mayor Recupero, Stephanie and Teresa, expressing my concern over eliminating the Zoom meeting or still having a Zoom meeting, but not allowing public comments, because it's a very big concern of mine, because there are so many people, like Jen said, that I would be there if I could in person, but right now, currently I'm at work. So it's not that I don't want to be there, but I do appreciate having Zoom and being able to speak and ask questions, because I'm very involved in the community. And if I can't speak, or if I can't get on Zoom, or I can't ask my questions, it's just going to really disconnect me from what's going on in the rest of the community. And I know that there may be times when there's only 4 or 5 people on Zoom, but then there's other times like tonight where there's 15, 16 participants. And those people they hold so much value to this town because they made the effort to join in and be involved. So let's not exclude them and myself from the transparency and communication that was promised to us. So I would appreciate keeping Zoom and keeping the public comment section available to all of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Angela. Danny Showalter.
Dan Showalter, 440 North Avenue. Our school board actually has a very well put together hybrid format. I don't think they use Zoom. They do something along the lines of YouTube, and it's a delayed service where everybody can hear what's going on, but you don't necessarily have a dog pile on a particular issue via Zoom. So therefore, people will know what's going on, but you don't necessarily have some of the disruptions that Zoom does bring into the fold. So I just thought that might be an option for people. So thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Dan. Don Wharf.
Hello, Don Wharf, 636 3rd Avenue. I believe that if you go ahead with your proposal, you're going to be moving in a negative direction. Communications is a key element of any vibrant community. And this is just taking away opportunity for enhanced communications. I really believe that if you're serious about this, you might want to get more opinions from the community. You might want to consider having a referendum on this issue. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Donald. Patty Tuminella. Patty, you there?
Okay.
We can hear you, Patty. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm just on tonight to make a comment about the Zoom, which
Can you state your name and address, please?
I'm sorry, Patty Tuminello, Tumminello, 756 2nd Street, Verona. And I'm on tonight to go to say that I am for Zoom, and I certainly wouldn't like it if it wasn't there. As for myself, I'm not a constant vocal person that's on here all the time to talk, but at least I can see and hear and participate if I need to be on what's happening in our community. And since my back surgery, there's days that I don't know if I can get out of bed or walk at, at certain times with the medicines and the pain. But but it's great to be able, people with disabilities, it's great to be able to turn on the Zoom and know that I can interact and interject if need be, or want to, with people on the Zoom and know what's happening with the community. Because there's a lot of people that wouldn't even know the people on council if they didn't see them on Zoom first. And so I feel this way, that Zoom is an outlet for us. And it's like your walkways in the town that you have on the streets that for people with wheelchairs to cross the street onto the other side. And it's like Zoom is our walkway for us, that we can't get to the meeting. So I would, I say I am in favor of keeping the Zoom, and I think it would be a mistake to lose it. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. Anybody else?
Right, may I say one other thing?
Mm-hmm.
There are new representative.
Please state your, please.
Right. Shirley Davis, Twin Boroughs Health Ministry, Verona United Methodist Church. Joe McAndrews has been at the farmer's market, and he had given me a pack of anybody that wants to sign up for the farmer's market. They're not going to come out on June 22nd this year. They're going to be held up. So he wanted me to take forms and give them to people that are handicapped and over 55. So I took that on, and then I gave it to a few other friends of mine to take care of also. So, but I wanted everybody to know that he is at the farmer's market and he is there to help. So I just wanted everybody to know that. I'll drop you one off, Patty.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shirley.
You can also get them online. We gotta be in county, if they'll have the seniors.
Well, this one.
Thank you, Shirley.
I'm sorry, this one here, Joe McAndrews, if I drop it off to Janet Oalbo and she takes it directly to him, he will see that those certificate farmers market are sent directly to them as soon as he's available.
The senior centers and all that can do that too.
Yeah, but they're.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like,
All right.
So they know, but everybody's clamoring on to Joe. I just want to give people other options.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks, Shirley.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're going to go to advisory boards and commissions.
This has nothing to do with Zoom, so we'll be good. I just want to say.
Your name and address,
Oh,
please, Sherry.
sorry, it's Sherry Kai and I own the Hula Bar, and my other business just moved into town, so Bettis Floral's kind of new to Verona. And we are sponsoring the Blossom Award. And I just want to give credit to the fact that the reason the chamber started the Blossom Award, it was inspired by Gloria, who's a seamstress in town, who has decorated her storefront with beautiful flowers for the past 17 years. And also in the spirit of helping the garden club, Verona Garden Club is shorthanded, have low budget. So we're encouraging every business to participate and decorate their storefront rather than the garden club was doing the baskets. Every business can water the flower in front of their place. And I understand that 6 beds flower died because the business didn't water them. So if somebody is planted for you, please water them. And so the Blossom Award, hopefully we can enhance the look of the town, and hopefully every business, the Bettis Floor is offering $300 cash reward for the top prize earner, and we will have hopefully the public will get involved in voting for the best looking, flower thing. And I'm guilty myself, right? Back in the days, I didn't do anything. The second thing I want to say, and I'm going to make this really quick. I'm also coming here. I understand the health declaration and is to help for the case of the bike lane. But there's some concerns. Some of the bike lane is parked in front of businesses that needs parking spot. Verona is have a very small business district. We're trying to attract business. If you eliminate the parking spot in front of business, that's gonna kill that business. We don't have enough parking space as it is. So in the Verona newsletter, thanks to Don Work, it displayed that parking spot going to be in front of Blondie's Mechanical Coffee, and there's another place. And then there's also parking spot will be taking out on Center Avenue, across the street from Miller's, across the street from Billy K's Mechanical Coffee, Event Center, Gloria Centris, and the Designer Place. So as much as I support a bike lane, because I came from China, the infrastructure where my original country come from supports a cycling, by retrofitting a bike lane in the infrastructure was never meant to a cycle lane. It is going to cause some problems. And when I looked at the bike lane design, it completely eliminated the Oakmont business district. Why the Oakmont business district get away from the bike lane, but the Verona district business district have to deal with the bike lane? I don't understand it. I don't think it's fair, because Verona should not play second fiddle to Oakmont. Their business district is just as important as our business district. And if the Verona business district want to see more retail business like Off the Rails, like Acclamation, like the Cider Place, like In a Groove, like a bar, cyclists are not going to sit there and drink and eat and supporting retail businesses. And the bicycle shop opens from Monday through Friday. They're not even going to be here for the weekends. We're in Western Pennsylvania. We have maybe 30 days of good weather. We have rain, we have cold weathers. The cyclist is not going to come out. So we're going to invest this infrastructure, kill the parking for the businesses. And how much are we really getting for the cyclists to come out? We can't even get the kids off the computer and their phones, and they're not going to come out just to bike. I mean, the culture has changed. Now, I'm completely supporting a cycle lane, a bike lane, but I would love it to be somewhere else in Verona except for the business district. And when it's 14 miles, exactly where is this 14 miles going? So I urge everybody to come Tuesdays from now, look at the proposal, see where it's going. Are we going to trade the cyclists to killing the business district? I'm just saying it's a big price to pay. So I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Sherry.
I'd like to make a comment on that. Just so you know, Sherry, that was an original design. We've had the design change. There will be no parking taken away.
From the business district?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just urging all the business.
Yeah.
To come on to.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I hope they do, but just so you know, like, there is no, we pulled everything off of taking no parking.
So that article on Verona News, those lanes are not correct.
That was an original design that has been changed.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sherry. Anybody else? Okay,
Real quick, Red, when's the next public meeting for VOP?
I think it's next 2 weeks on Tuesday.
We're having one, but I think there's a public meeting like for the 4 municipalities.
It's, I think it's July 13th.
Okay. That sounds right. Thank you.
okay, advisory boards, Parks and Rec.
We changed the meeting date from the first Tuesday of the month to the first Monday of the month, the second Monday of the month at 6 o'clock. And that's all the updates I have. We did meet with Parks and Rec last night and talked about. We have a couple of interested applicants to fill the open positions. I talked to all the board members and none of them have any problems with any of the applicants. And it is the will of the Parks and Rec Board to let council decide whether to fill the positions with those people.
Very good.
So something will happen on the workshop meeting.
Vince, how many letters did we receive for how many open positions?
3 letters for 2 open positions right now, and we just got another resignation that will be up for approval. So technically 3 open positions, 3 letters.
If someone is still interested, when would be the deadline to submit a
We
letter?
also talked about leaving an open deadline. Because when Parks and Rec started in 2017, we had a alternate. I think we might have had 2 alternates. So we are going back to that. So we will accept. If the board positions are filled and people are interested, they can still submit a letter and we can put them in as an alternate in case one of the board members can't show up.
Can we fill those positions at the workshop, or do we have to wait till the next business meeting?
I think we can do a workshop as long as it's on this action item.
So that would be the deadline.
Yeah, but we'll
Thanks.
always accept,
Yeah,
we'll just stop advertising for it.
Yeah.
But if people are interested, I encourage them to always put a letter of interest in, even if there isn't any other position, we'll keep them on file. If the position opens or alternate opens, we'll contact.
Very good. Thanks, Vince. Reports. We have our minutes here for the workshop of April 25th. Everybody looked them over. I'll take a motion to accept the minutes for the workshop,
I'll make
April
that
25th.
motion.
Motion by Dr. Carpenter,
Second.
second by Mr. Craig. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passed. Okay, thank you. Mayor Recupero.
Yeah, real quick, Stephanie, when is the closing date for hiring other police officers, full-time officer?
Applications is June 16th.
June 16th, thank you. And real quick, just wanted to thank everyone for the botany and booze. It looked like it was a very successful day. Everybody worked hard on that. Weather didn't cooperate towards the end, but I think it was a very nice event. And the other thing is, this past Saturday, Sergeant Franco's continued the bike derby for kids, where they give out helmets and light flight helicopter landed. And I'd like to thank everyone who came out and volunteered also for that. It was a pretty big success. And there was some donations, and I'll read that in the police report when I do that. And you were talking about Parks and Recs, and I guess we all did get a letter from Maria Holmes. She had resigned Parks and Rec. And I would like to thank her for her dedication and the time that she spent on Parks and Recs and doing things throughout the community and volunteering her time. And I know her husband Josh came on and done some things also. And I'd like to, just thank her. And I understand our lives are busy, but volunteers are very scarce, and we need all that we can get, to volunteer. This time, that's all I have.
Very good, thank you. Borough Manager's report. Wolford.
Pretty quick, the update on the STMP was the grant was supposed to be in DCED last week. It did not happen. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I didn't get it done. I hope to have it completed by the end of this week and out to DCED. We will begin working on the budget. I've begun working on my parts of the budget. The first steps will be creating timelines and updating the 2022 year-end financials with numbers from the audit. So everything's correct. The next big step will be once June is complete and financials have been approved, to go through and look at where we are at 6 months, and we'll begin processing the budget. Last but not least, this is for Trish. They are in the process with the paint they currently have. DPW is in the process of repainting the yellow on the sidewalks. They're gonna also work on the handicap spots and pedestrian crosswalks. And an update, this is new. I apologize, we got this today. You did receive notification that they will be doing some work on Allegheny River Boulevard, doing some line paintings, doing some fills, like getting cracks and stuff. And that will encompass all of Verona in 2 separate pieces. When we have a better date, we will let you know, but that's a state thing, so we have to wait. So.
Very good, thank you.
So Stephanie, were they able to order the additional paint being
They
provided?
did, I don't think it's in that.
Oh, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we were able to order it along with the signage.
Yep.
Thank you.
Code enforcement report.
Oh, hold on. You should all have a copy of the code enforcement report for the month of June. There were 9 violations given out in the month of June, just so you know. I can't tell you for sure what they were all for. I don't have them written down. But they were.
Very good, thank you. Police chief's report.
Yes, complaints received 128, total crimes reported 20, total crimes cleared 16, total persons arrested 16, crime code summary issued 4, vehicle code summary issued 11, borough code summary issued 12, borough parking tickets 124. Magistrate fines collected $547.60. Borough fines and fees collected $735. Police reports purchased $60. Municipal fines, I'm gonna have to look into that, it's $1.03. Total fines and fees collected $1,343.63. Parking permit fees, $269. And one additional thing, the bike derby donations, there was 4 of them. Thermal Twin donated $250. Hyler's Hardware, $100. A Martini, $250, and the Verona Moose, $100. And I'd like to thank all of them.
The municipal fines will be accepted coming through the courts. It said that's good for the courts and having.
Yeah, but I've never seen $1.03.
Yeah,
That's
it's hard to say.
yeah.
452 for the year.
Very good, thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Fire chief report, Dan Teehee.
The fire company answered a total of 8 calls for the month of May. 100 Arch Street in Verona. Report of smoke coming from the ground, nothing found upon arrival. 57 natural gas leak at 1426 Maple Avenue in Penn Hills. 57 residential fire alarm 909 North Avenue in Penn Hills, false alarm. 510 assist the police with traffic control on Allegheny River Boulevard in Verona. 516 brush fire in the rear of 560 Church Street in Verona. 519 carbon monoxide alarm at 909 North Avenue in Penn Hills, false alarm. 522 assist EMS with lifting a patient, 452 School Street in Verona. And 531 commercial fire alarm at 625 Allegheny River Boulevard in Verona, false alarm.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Do you want to mention the July?
Yeah, I want to bring up 2 things. if
Oh,
I
okay.
may. First, I just wanted to inform council, last night, the fire company enrolled its first ever female firefighter. Name is Ally. She's a young Verona resident that's very eager to volunteer and serve the community, so we welcome her to the team. And second, to elaborate on Shirley's question and to let everybody in the community know, we are having the Toys for Tots fundraiser again this year, as well as our spaghetti dinner and open house. Pulling up the dates here for you. The Toys for Tots drive is going to be July 8th, 15th, and 29th. We'll be collecting toys at the fire station from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then again on August 5th at our spaghetti dinner open house from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the evening.
What time, when was spaghetti dinner, Dan?
August 5th from 4 to 7.
Talk about that, so I can get it on Facebook. and all
Yeah, I
that.
can. And it's also on our social media page.
Is it
It's
already
in, yeah, it's in the newsletter. We pass flyers around. It's advertising a lot of the local businesses. And it's on our website also.
I just wanna make sure we get it on.
Thanks, Dan. Anybody have a question for Dan?
I was just gonna say, thank you guys for coming out to the bike derby as well as to RCC's open house. Appreciate it.
Okay, EMS report?
I have the Lower Valley report. There were a total of 38 calls this month. Of those calls, 12 of them were advanced life support and 9 of them were, basic. There were 4 refusals, 3 false calls, some lift assist and fire calls. They did have to refer calls, 4 calls were referred to Penn Hills and 2 calls were referred to Foxwell EMS. This was not, at no point was Lower Valley out of service. It was called, they were called out because they were at high volume and there were no units available. And I have also attached their subscription program that is starting to go out.
I have a question about that. I am a subscriber, but I'm just wondering with the uncertainty of what's going on. You know, I'm unclear as to whether I should sign up for another whole year.
Well,
Do you have any idea about that or?
The only thing I'll
anybody?
say, the only thing I'll say is this goes from July, right?
Yeah, July 1st.
So
Mhm.
until we get it rectified, if you need the ambulance in September and you're not a subscriber, you don't want to pay that bill,
No, I know.
you know, because that's,
We're not making any changes.
No.
in the
I would
next-
suggest people subscribe. And, you know, it's 60 or I forget how much,
It's 60, something like that. Yeah, 60 for.
80 for a family, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's well worth $700, $800, $900, $1,200 for an ambulance run. Because they're very costly. That's an insurance that you hope you take and you never use. You know,
right.
so did that answer your question?
Yeah, and yeah,
I understand what you're saying,
yeah.
but
But I was asking it also just in general for the community, like, what do we do?
Fill out
There are
your-
a lot of
fill out
nodding
your
heads over here.
subscription fee. From July of 2023, fill out your subscription fee. Again, no decisions have been made and that we haven't, so. I guess, I mean, right now, you know, you're better off having it.
very good, thank you.
No, not right.
Next, we have the solicitor's report, Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did submit a written solicitor's report. I don't have anything to add at this time.
Very good, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Alexander? Thank you. Engineers report, Mr. Pitch.
Thank you. I submitted my written report. Just a few items that didn't make it. Some details on the CD 49 projects that were awarded. The demolitions for West Railroad, Union Street and First Street. We've received $35,500 and that's a fully funded grant, so we should not have anything out of pocket. The sanitary sewer lining, we received $65,530 in grant funds. And there's gonna be approximately 35,000 in local share amount. That project's estimated right around 100,000. In the Sylvan Way construction, we were awarded 28,000 in grant funds. The project's estimated at about 32,000, so we'll have a small amount of about 4,000 out of pocket for that one. The other 2 items I wanted to touch on quickly is the 2023 multimodal. We're looking at focusing on ADA and sidewalk connectivity of all the parks and borough facilities. That is a 30% match grant. It does go up to 3 million. I didn't have an opportunity to walk the route
But the idea is to bring it from the Riverbank Park, up Wildwood. I know we've discussed crossings on Wildwood before. There's some new, crossing styles that the state has in advanced warning signs. Getting over to Second Street, up the Cribs, and then down Center, and kind of completing the loop. As I stated, I didn't have a chance to count how many ramps would need replaced or what sections of sidewalk. I'll have that for the next meeting. And then the Act 152 demolitions, those applications are due Friday. I worked with Stephanie, which the CDBG grant covered most of them. So we'll be applying for 523 East Railroad for the Act 52 demo. And that's all I have.
Anybody have anything for Mr. Pitch?
I had a question.
Yep.
I was at Cribs Monday and I noticed that the slab for the new concession, for the new building, is cracked but like across. I didn't know if you want to take a look at that or talk to the contractor, it being only a year and a half old. And I mean, it's underneath where the support posts are. So I don't know if that's a structural issue or maybe it's poured wrong or ground shifted or water or something. So it's not big right now, but I think it should get someone should take a look at it before it does become a problem.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. It wouldn't be the post because those are mounted on their own foundations. It's quite possible that maybe just some freeze thaw. I mean, unfortunately, concrete cracks, so I'll take.
It was only one slab a couple of weeks ago, and now it's the same spot in the other slab, it's the whole way across the width. So I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, without seeing it, I'm not sure. It could be in a stress zone that maybe he just has to come back and kind of grind it out. But I'll take a look at it and let him know as well if it's something needs done.
Thanks, Matt.
Matt, we received an email recently about the property on West Railroad for demo. Is that currently covered by?
That's it.
That's on
That's
CDBG.
204.
That's two.
West
Okay.
Road.
Awesome.
Right here.
There's also somebody interested in buying that piece of property too, so. we'll
Oh.
have to-
Which
Fascinating.
I'll
Okay.
discuss with Craig because a lot of times that's a very long and hard process for a private individual to try to acquire the properties versus us to get clearance for demolition.
Through the, are they proposing through the vacant property recovery program or just to
No.
buy it outright? Okay. Matt, can we have more than one grant application for the multimodal grant?
We can, they would just end up competing with themselves. So I mean, if we want to discuss a second application, we could vote on which one we felt was more important. Or we could put them both in. I mean, it doesn't hurt you, but then you're not gonna get both of them.
Sure. Yes, because we were discussing at workshop, Penn Hills is interested in submitting one on our behalf for Bob.
I think they're actually. Penn Hills is submitting it. If they want us and Oak One to co-sponsor it with them, they would actually be.
Can you come to our workshop meeting this month?
Stephanie had asked me, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, my understanding was that was gonna, I don't believe that Bob didn't apply for it directly. But it was gonna be a multi-municipal, so doing something like that and then us submitting our own, those would be two different things.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Committee reports, Finance Committee, Dr. Carpenter.
Thank you. In the month of May, we took in $157,786. And our expenses were $104,000, basically $105,000 for a net income of $52,862. So, and as you could hear from the audit report, the financial health of the borough is quite good, I think, at this point. In terms of major revenues that we received in the last month, we got a little over $70,000 from a PA Small Water and Sewer Program for partial reimbursement for sewer cleaning. And we, in terms of major expenditures, we spent $161,550 on our Alka Sand bill, which is a standard quarterly bill that we get. A lot of that is reimbursed from Oakmont Water. The other thing I just wanted to point out to people on the bills, is that there was some expenditure on vehicle repairs. I guess for both one police vehicle and a fire vehicle. And between the two of them, it totaled about $7,900. So that's, you know, I think we have the cushion for that, but it was an expense that we weren't necessarily expecting, but you always have to expect the unexpected. So, if anybody has any other questions about the finances, I'm happy to answer them now or later.
Thanks, Nancy.
Mhm.
Rec and community events? Oh,
Oh, right, and I'll make a motion to approve to pay the bills for May.
motion by Dr. Carpenter. Second by Mr. Craig. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Passed. Thank you. Rec and community events, Mr. Craig.
Yes, I just want to remind everyone that we have the Verona Farmers Market going on. It's on every Thursday from 2 to 7. Stop down, fresh produce, cookies, candy, wine, some crafts. Next thing is the tree trimming, the road work tree trimming is all done. Get a chance, take a ride up ridge, you can actually see the sky now.
I seen them up at Cribs today.
Up at Cribs, they took down those 3 Bradford pears that were blocking the lights. When we had the arborist look at them, he actually said because they're an invasive, plus as they get bigger, Bradford pears have a habit of splitting down the middle. So instead of trimming them back, he suggested just taking them out. They will be coming back to grind the stumps on those. But that, so Ridge is done, Cribs is done, and the one tree leaning on West Railroad across from 222 is done.
Awesome. Thank you.
The other thing is we got a notice from the Shade Tree Commission about wanting to do some trimming on trees. And I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of this is. When we met with the Shade Tree Commission earlier this spring, they said, you know, as long as we had an arborist do it, they would be okay with it. And they didn't. They said at the time that nothing should be done while it's sleeping because it puts too much stress on the trees. When we met with the arborist from Tree Vitalize, he said the same thing. I met with 6 different tree companies and they basically all said the same thing. Last month, we awarded a contract to have that done in the fall. And now they want to do this next month. And it's basically the same work that we just contracted for. I'm not sure why, if they have volunteers that are trained to do this, why they wanted us to bid it out and pay someone to come in and do the work that they're gonna do.
You like me to invite them to the workshop meeting?
It's fine. You know, my suggestion is, you know, if they're gonna do the work, then we should try and cancel the Arborscape's job because why should we, in 3 months, have someone come in and follow them and do almost the same work?
Can you get a hold of them
Yeah.
and have them come to the workshop? We'll put that on the agenda for discussion for the workshop. Thank you.
But I believe you sent an email
Yeah,
and there was a response.
yes.
And I think that what the Shade Tree Commission, I mean, I can't really say with any expertise, but what I got from what I read from the email from Bridget was that what they're doing is different than what is being done by the
But
other
it's not.
people. So I
It's
don't
not.
know if Bridget or Laura are on the meeting.
Bridget's on.
They could comment on that.
They're gonna remove suckers and damaged trees, and that's exactly what the proposal from Allegheny Arborscapes is to do.
Why don't we have them come to the workshop?
Well, Bridget could comment during the public comment tonight. And maybe clear up the confusion. hopefully.
Okay, she wants to.
Couple other things, we just got a notice today. We finally got the bid for the ADA accessibility for the dock. And we did file that, I mentioned last month, the Port of Pittsburgh grant. And Katie Craig from Friends of the Riverfront is working on the OBAC grant to cover that.
Cover the other side of it.
One
So we
more-
got the one grant.
No, we haven't got any.
Oh,
grant
okay,
yet.
okay.
We have filed for the one.
Oh, we
and
filed
we're
for
Working
one.
on the other one.
She's
Filing
working.
the other one. The other thing I noticed when I was up at Cribs this morning with the tree service, the one light pole on South is leaning away from the field. I'm not sure if that's something of concern, if we need to talk to Duquesne Light. They
Well-
installed them.
Duquesne Light installed them as a favor to somebody.
Okay,
I believe that we didn't, I don't believe we paid for that. I think that was all donated time.
I think it was someone Don knew
Right,
okay.
donated their time.
yeah. Yeah, I don't want to say no names. I know who it was, but yeah, I don't think there's no warranty on that.
Well, no, that,
Right,
but I don't know, I mean, it's leaning probably, it's about an 80-degree angle now.
you ever see some of them telephone poles with transformers on them?
I'm just wanted to mention it.
Okay.
That it's something we need to be aware of.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Anything else, Red?
That'll be all.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Mrs. Provenza?
Thank you, Mr. President. The item here is parking fee updates, and we are working on those now. Hopefully by next meeting, we'll have those completed.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
Very good, thank you.
Well,
Communications, Mr. Floto.
Yes, I believe I emailed everybody a packet. Everybody get a chance to read over it? Craig, did you have a chance to read over it?
I looked at it, yes.
As far as you're concerned, is everything seemed correct in that?
I have no concern either way,
I mean, you're familiar with that court case, so, correct? Okay.
which court case is it?
The Eckert one.
Yes.
So that's one of my main concerns about this. Is I believe that what that's saying is if we're having a Zoom meeting, the technology fails and it's advertised, we have to end the meeting, correct? Or it's a violation of the Sunshine Act.
That's an argument that they have.
That's what that court case was, right?
Yes.
Okay. But that's a major concern of mine because in the past, in 2020, 2021, 2022, we have had meetings that were advertised as Zoom meetings and the technology has failed. People have said that the microphones haven't worked. It's failed either on our end or on their end, for both ends. And that is quickly approaching violation of the Sunshine Act. That's a big concern of mine. I also highlighted a couple of the areas of the packet that I sent you. I'll read them out loud right now. Video conferencing can be used to increase civic engagement among more vulnerable or disenfranchised populations, but doing so requires an investment in infrastructure, training, and oversight. For instance, in order for access to the civic process to be equitable, which I'm glad this was brought up earlier, about it being the difference between equality and being equitable. For it to be equitable, the municipality would need to supplement internet access for all low-income households, provide training and assist with using Zoom and other necessary technologies, and have someone available to troubleshoot both on the broadcasting side and for individual citizens. Without this infrastructure in place, video conferencing meetings are only increasing convenience for the already engaged citizens. This isn't a bad thing, but it must be looked at in a budgetary terms as a convenience and not a necessity. Given the limited effectiveness of Zoom in increasing diversity of civic engagement, it is important to consider the costs and challenges associated with running. During the pandemic, this was the only possible way to have meetings, which would which made the expense necessary simply to do business. Now we have the opportunity to reconsider and make the best choice outside of such a crisis. That involves a reevaluation of Verona's specific needs and abilities. There are several challenges to Zoom meetings. On the broadcasting side, there is the requirement for somebody to host the meeting. This is not an insignificant task for several reasons. It has been ruled a violation of the Sunshine Act for a meeting which was advertised as a Zoom accessible to continue in the event of the technical failure, which makes it essential for someone to stay focused on the Zoom side of the meeting and to stop the in-person meeting instantly in the event of a technological failure. Best practices suggest the use of a waiting room to ensure that only individuals who are adhering to the security practices which meet the same standards as in-person participants can attend. In other words, the online participants must have their faces visible and be recognizable as the person they claim to be. First and last name must be written in the name field. Even if all participants follow basic etiquette of arriving on time and not coming and going during the meeting, this process might last a few minutes into the meeting and or a few minutes prior. The process of uploading the meeting also takes several minutes after the meeting. These are the duties of a moderator if nothing goes wrong. If there are additional problems, either with the technology or people's use of it, the moderator will need to take some action. If the moderator is also a council member or other individual participating in the meeting, then they are not fully attending to the business at hand, which is the role for which they were elected. Further, this is an extension of duties and time beyond what any volunteer council member should be asked to do. Therefore, Verona would need to budget for a moderator to oversee the Zoom meeting. There are also an infrastructure and security issues on the side of the citizens using the Zoom meeting, even with the best efforts and respectful participation, example, coming on time, using full names and video, etc. Individuals are simply not in full control of their environments. If an individual has wallpaper which is offensive to others and is viewable to all, that may be considered harassment, just as if you wore an offensive shirt to a meeting. There have also been incidents in neighboring municipalities of people shouting racial slurs, which were broadcast throughout the whole meeting. These are all vulnerabilities of allowing people to participate in meetings outside of the established location. During COVID, these were necessary risks, but as COVID has eased, it is reasonable to reconsider the balance associated with Zoom meetings. Zoom meetings do allow for greater convenience for participation among those citizens who have reliable internet access, live in a quiet home or area, and are able to devote the time to coming on time and staying for the full meeting. As such, it provides a convenience to some, which would no doubt be missed by those individuals. It is important to note that the proposal made to eliminate Zoom meetings does not or does include options for participation by those who cannot or choose not to come in person. One concern mentioned was that of transparency. Transparency refers to the visibility of the process and decisions of the governing body. The meeting will still be live streamed as well as stored on a public website, so there is no loss of transparency. Similarly, the Sunshine Act requires visibility. Synchronous participation is not a requirement. Another concern was related to the public's ability to comment or ask questions. Again, there are provisions for this. First, it is always an option and best practice to come in person if there is a topic on the agenda of specific concern and that agenda is made public in advance. Second, it remains an option to submit questions or comments through asynchronous channels. Example, mailed or sent by proxy if you're unable to attend. In conclusion, Zoom meetings are convenient. They can increase opportunities for civic engagement. As a rule, those who take advantage of these opportunities also have the opportunity to participate in person, with temporary exceptions such as non-chronic illness or scheduling conflicts. Zoom cannot increase civic engagement among less privileged citizens without cost to infrastructure and staffing, and so must be considered in terms of a budget as the convenience item currently is. In terms of the concerns brought up by citizens already, there are solutions to each as described above. Moving from synchronous to asynchronous online participation will not result in any limitations of the public to comment on issues before the council for a vote. or bring up issues which might warrant inclusion for future agenda and may also serve to clarify the appropriate channels to use for off-topic public comments or concerns. In addition, eliminating Zoom may help encourage focus of the council meetings on the purpose for which they are intended, both in terms of relevance of comments and focus on the council members and all participants. So, does anybody have any questions?
Yes, Vince, can you reiterate the options and your recommendation?
I don't really have a recommendation. I just am asking council, where do we want to go? Do we want Donald Wolf mentioned putting it on a referendum? Do we put it on a referendum that we need to hire a moderator and supplement all of the houses in Verona with internet service and laptops so they can have the same equitable way to watch the meetings as everybody else?
Well, how's everybody gonna watch the meeting if you put it on YouTube if they don't have a computer? And if they can't make it?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, you had said you wanted to put it on YouTube and eliminate Zoom.
YouTube would be a bonus, but we shouldn't advertise that it's going to be on YouTube, because if we advertise that the meetings are available on YouTube and then YouTube crashes, then we can't have a meeting.
What's the difference if this right now crashes while your video?
Then we have to end the meeting. Or it's a violation of the sunshine. Act.
So if it crashes on Zoom, then you end the meeting because to me, it's the same thing.
No, what I'm saying is we don't advertise that the meetings are available on Zoom. We advertise that the best practice is to attend the meeting in person.
But
Zoom and YouTube would be extra.
see, I have to agree with all these people that want the Zoom. There's a lot of people out there that I know personally that can't make the meeting for one reason or another.
So what are we looking at? We're looking at what, like about $500,000 then? Right?
Do we have
And
a
then
price
we start-
on what it would cost? to moderate?
I don't, I can say, where I'm continuing to do research right now. But I will say, Zoom Live seems to be, if there is a computer, a system, that's what they use. I do want to mention that, again, as Dan Showalter said, Riverview School do not allow for people to speak. Plum schools do not allow for people to speak. Plum Borough is only on YouTube Live. Penn Hills is on YouTube Live. Oakmont is on YouTube Live. I went through and looked at 11 communities. No, Zoom was very few and far between. And I did realize when there was Zoom, some places have very strict rules about how Zoom can be used. Carrot, for example, you have to email, get the information, and they'll then email you the link. It is not a shared link on your website. So, I mean, is there a lot to think about? Yes, but I think that, YouTube Live would give you the same transparency that you're looking for and would save you the heartache and pain of trying. I mean, just tonight, for example, Vince and I spent the first like 10 minutes of the meeting running back and between the computer, trying to get everybody out of the waiting room. You know, that kind of stuff, what happens if we don't notice somebody? And, he doesn't have the time to look. I certainly don't have the time to look. And I would hate to ask Teresa to come in and have to moderate a Zoom meeting.
I couldn't read the health proclamation tonight because I had to moderate Zoom. And I had to because there were two people that got in, I let them in, then they popped off. I don't know if they got off because Zoom kicked them off or it was a technical difficulty. I don't know that, but I looked up and they're in the waiting room again. I let them in. 2 minutes later, I had to let them in again. I can't concentrate. I don't think anybody on this council can concentrate on the meeting if they're moderating Zoom. So, like I said, I've researched this. Best practices is we have to hire a moderator. And we should also look into what do we do with, we had Taylor Pop come here last year. she did a very revealing study. And do you remember how many underprivileged and what the median income was?
I don't remember the number.
I think it was like $45,000 a year was the average median income in Verona. Are we to make it fair? Are we gonna supplement the people that can't afford internet to give them internet? Are we gonna pay for that? Or are we gonna, or in 2020, when Riverview moved to full Zoom, they supplemented every student with laptops. Are we gonna do that for every citizen in Verona or every household in Verona? Because that is equitable. Are we willing to do that? Are we willing to put it on for a vote and say, hey, it's gonna cost X amount of dollars to keep Zoom, and we're gonna have to raise your taxes this amount? Are we willing to do that? I'm not pushing for or against it. I'm playing devil's advocate here. And like the mayor asked, he asked a good question tonight. Right now, Zoom crashed. If we lost power right now, meeting's over. If we lost power before 2020, we would light some candles, we would get the job done and finish the meeting. We can't do that now because we advertised that it's a Zoom meeting. If that Zoom meeting is no longer available, then it's a violation of the Sunshine Act because we advertised a way to watch the meeting that was unavailable.
So I'd like to comment on that.
Can I just say something really quick?
Sure.
I just want to clarify that we've used both the terms Zoom Live and YouTube Live, and I just want to confirm that they are the same, which are both asynchronous, which means the public would watch it on a delay.
Yes, and it's a 2-minute delay.
Okay.
The only difference is if we go to YouTube Live. Perfect example was tonight. People were being interrupted when they were speaking because people were unmuting their microphone and we were getting feedback through the speakers. Everybody in here heard it. We won't have that. If we run YouTube Live, there will be no comments until the end of the meeting, and there's no way for people to unmute because they won't have the Zoom. Or another option was what you brought up, is to run Zoom webinars. And in a Zoom webinar, you are not allowed to comment. It won't even let you comment until the end of the meeting. And that's what I'm proposing. I'm proposing a cleaner, safer, more secure way to have meetings. I'm not trying to take away transparency or people's ability to comment. I'm trying to take away people accidentally hitting their space bar and dropping the F-bomb. Or somebody hitting the video and you see some offensive painting on their wall. Like, people can't control their environment. I mean, they admitted it tonight. They're at home with sick children or kids running around. That's not an environment that you're always in control of. If you have a screaming baby at home and it's your turn to speak, everybody gets to hear a screaming baby. So I'm just trying to clean it up. And we, in 2020, we were panicked. We had to figure out a way to get business done and pay the bills without being closer than 6 feet to each other or more than 10 people in an enclosed area. That is not going on now. We have a chance to take a step back, reevaluate the situation and make the right choice. And that's all I'm saying.
So.
Good.
I did some research too on the legal update that you shared with us through PSAB. And while, you know, all the information about what went on with this particular case is not available. This update is dated October 20th, 2020. So what I think is also another possibility is that in 2020, meetings were being advertised as Zoom only because they didn't want people coming into the chamber. I believe we did that. We had no people in the chamber, so it was not advertised as available in the chamber. So it was only available on Zoom. And in this particular case, there were a few school board people who were present in person, probably like if it were here, it'd be where Stephanie is, where Craig is, where I am and where Tim was, like they were spread apart wearing their masks. And there was some kind of technology failure, but the 4 people or however many there were that were, socially distanced, continued to have the meeting. It wasn't an option for somebody to hop in their car and run over to the chamber or wherever they were having their meeting and be there in person. So the Sunshine Act in that case, where Zoom was the only option and Zoom was eliminated due to technology failures. In this case, they ruled, according to this summary, that they were not following the Sunshine Act because Zoom was not present and there was no other option. So when talking to the legal guy at PSAB, he said, as long as you are advertising your meeting to be available by both in person and Zoom, if you lose Zoom, you do not have to stop the meeting. That was the conclusion of the research I did. I don't think anything is written in stone with regard to this particular case. And part of the problem is there's not much precedent set in this situation. In terms of some of the other stuff, I mean, I don't think that we have to go out and buy computers for everyone. And I think in Riverview School District or wherever it was, a lot of school districts were giving all the families who needed them laptops to do their schoolwork, not necessarily for school board meetings. And they just happen to have a laptop because they needed them for the at-home schooling, virtual teaching, and so on and so forth. I see that there's some issues that came up tonight about muting and unmuting. And I think using YouTube is a very good idea because it gets rid of the problem of having to upload it to YouTube once it's over. But I will say that I heard 9 or 10 people commenting tonight, and out of the 10, 9 of them want to be able to have a way to comment. We used to use the webinar version when we first started. That's what Jerry had. And it was cumbersome for him to switch people back and forth so that they could actually talk. And that's why we downgraded to the more simple way. I think that there might have been a couple people who are having their own personal issues with how to mute and unmute. And I think they need to be, get brushed up on how to work their Zoom from home so that doesn't happen. But, I don't know. I haven't seen much bad stuff go on here. I know you like having a waiting room, and that's kind of an extra step that we're taking right at the moment.
Do you need a waiting room with webinar?
I don't know, because I've never worked with webinar, but I think that you can set your settings however you want them pretty much in Zoom. But again, linking it to YouTube. I totally agree with linking it to YouTube. That's a very good way to do that. But, I would, if you wanted to make me co-host or whatever it is that this would allow, I'd be happy to take a crack at being the host and worrying about who's muted, not muted, and whose hands up and whose hands not up, and so on and so forth like that. If we want to go to webinar, we could try that. I personally think it's more cumbersome. Jerry had a heck of a time with it. If we could just tell people, like, people heard you from the last meeting, and every single person on here has their full name. Keeping in mind that when people are here in the in person.
There's someone up there that doesn't have a full.
Okay, Jessica, put your last name up there.
I think what we're gonna have.
But just to wrap up here, I'm just saying that, there's some people here, I don't know their names at all, and they're in person. So we can ask them to put their names up, but, and people, it looks like in general are willing to do that. We can ask people to turn their video on when they speak. And, people will probably be willing to do that. I think all the people on here are adults. And they're willing to follow any guidelines that are asked of them. But clearly, the people who are invested in this community on a consistent basis are asking for the ability to comment during public comment. If you want to put more guidelines and rules around that, I think that's a fair compromise. We could try webinar. If we don't like it, we could go back. But to cut people off from commenting, what I'm hearing from the community and the majority do not want that to happen.
Clarifying question. You said you're in favor of YouTube, but you don't mean YouTube live. You mean maintaining Zoom in some format, but auto streaming.
Well, I think we're doing YouTube live right now.
We are.
Right, but if we
Yes.
only did,
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is to continue to offer the link so that people can comment, but using the YouTube live, so they don't have to come in the next day, or Stephanie doesn't have to put it on
okay,
to the website. It's already, onto the YouTube channel.
Okay.
It's already there. So that does eliminate a step. So, those are some thoughts that I have. And
What are your thoughts about hiring a moderator?
well, what I just said is I think that I could handle it if you want to make me
So-
co-host.
If it's okay with the president and vice president, the next meeting, me and you could switch seats.
No, I don't need that computer. I can do it from here. You just need to make me
No,
host.
I don't want to be moderator at all.
You don't have to be. You just make me host.
Setting up Zoom and starting it is me being the moderator. That's what it is.
Well,
Okay, we're getting a little off.
From that computer?
Yes.
She says she can do it from her computer.
Okay, if she can do it from her computer, then that's fine.
I think it sounds like we need to look into it a little further. Because there's,
I also pushed it back to this meeting because
Yeah.
we're in a bubble. We are Verona Council. Our engineer and our solicitor attend numerous council and other board meetings. And I would like some feedback from them as to what other places.
and that I would like to hear that as well. I just would like to mention before you do that, that I heard you, Stephanie, you said that many of these communities, that's what they use. And I guess I just feel like our community wants to be able to comment. So I honestly, I don't think I would make what we do here in Verona based on what surrounding communities do.
yeah,
The same token, are these same people going to the school board meetings and addressing the same concerns?
I don't know.
I was just gonna clarify, to your point, this is why we are having this discussion at a business meeting as opposed to workshop where we would normally have this discussion, because we did want some input from our
Yes.
staff, particularly you, Craig, about the legalities that Vince has brought up. So can you offer any additional comment at this time?
I mean, the case that is referenced in that article is a case out of Scranton. My understanding is it's a local case. I'm not aware that an appeal was ever filed in that case, but certainly provides guidance on what is necessary when you conduct an online meeting.
Mhm.
And certainly those security measures should be taken into consideration, obviously. It's like any collective bargaining agreement that you enter into with unions. Once you give a benefit, it's hard to take it away. People don't like that change, that going back to what you had before.
True.
Might have been somebody asked my opinion on from the different communities that I represent, my office represents, and we represent an awful lot. And I can say that Verona is the only one that uses this interactive platform. That doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just that the other communities don't do it. This one does, but this community is used to it now. So I understand everything Vince is saying with the security measures. That all makes sense to me. It would be a travesty if you had to end a meeting because you have a sunshine law violation. I agree with Ray. You might have to look into it a little bit further to see, maybe have me write an opinion on what I think, given that there's only one case out there that provides guidance. And that case was issued in the heart of COVID, when pretty much there were only remote meetings. Most communities didn't provide an in-person option. I did have one community that only did it in-person meetings. The whole COVID, they didn't have a Zoom option. They televised the meetings. You can watch them, but they didn't provide a Zoom option where the public, if the public wanted to comment, they came to the meeting. Just anybody else. But yeah, I get it.
So do you think we'd have to end the meeting if there was a technological issue?
It's possible. I'll have to go back and look to see exactly what the court ruled and what their holding was. There might be a way to create an advertisement that gives an out. I don't know that.
That's kind of what I was asking. If we could provide an advertisement that says the council meetings are on this day, there may be an option to view it on YouTube Live, but we can't be held.
The public's right to comment is guaranteed for in-person
Yes.
Participants, but we will try to accommodate.
That would be legal that way.
Maybe we could have Craig look into this. We could sit here and say the what ifs all night.
Yes.
Maybe we can have Craig look into this, look into the specifics and legalities. So we know what we're doing and what we're doing is right or wrong.
That's fine. I'll bring something back next month.
Okay.
So I
Everybody
just
good
wanna
with
make
that?
Sure that we're covered liability wise. I'm not trying to take away comments from people.
Right.
Or anything. If we could get this legally sorted out.
Right.
We could offer it streamed and still have maybe the webinar so people don't unmute by accident, and we could still offer public comment. Remotely at the end of the meeting, then I think that might be agreeable to everybody. But I'm just making sure that we don't violate the Sunshine Act unknowingly, because we're trying to provide extra transparency to everybody, and then it bites us.
I remember in one of the communities I represent locally here in this valley, we were having a Zoom meeting in the heart of COVID, and they actually showed up. The council showed up, but the public wasn't allowed to come in. And during that meeting, there's a lot of what do you call bombing?
Zoom bomb.
Zoom bombing.
Yeah.
And there was an organized Zoom bomb where, all these people that have their full names up there, their picture, they all started, noise started to play, everyone started to flash, then it was switched, and then there's all kinds of nudity would start to show up and on every single one, and I just shut it down. And I think that's what this case if that would have been in Allegheny County, who knows if that result, but according to that case, I clearly violated the sunshine law that night because I just shut it down.
Well, why don't we have you look into it?
Yeah.
I mean, we could. And anybody has any questions, I'm sure they can call Mr. Alexander and give their thoughts on it.
Well, we should talk about it next month.
Yeah, well, he's gonna work on the legalities of what we can and can't do. And what we can.
Matt, do you have any input?
Just like Craig said, representing multiple communities, Verona's the only one that utilizes it in this aspect. I have a few communities that record it and then upload it the next day. I have communities that only do audio recording with a Walkman. So I mean, it's not a Walkman, but I mean, just a little recorder sitting on the table. Yeah.
Well, it's a digital recorder.
So I mean, it's whatever suits everyone, but Verona is the only one that I attend that has the interaction. What some of the other communities do, they have registered comments. So if you watch the video or whatnot, and you can't make the meeting, you send your comment in, and it's either read by the manager or the president at the beginning of the meeting, so their comment is heard.
Well, that's, I think we need to get Mr. Alexander to look into this.
Okay, I'll bring something back next.
All right.
If you could look at their one.
Hmm? Here,
Yeah, they have a.
Yeah, I'm open to all suggestions. I
Okay.
just- We're still operating like we did in 2020, and I think it's time to grow and to move on. There has to be a better way. We can't be here and feedback 3 years after we've been doing this. We can't be having problems with people not putting their full names up. Or not acting appropriate. So I'm looking out for the benefit and the safety of everybody in this room. That's all I have. I will talk about it at the workshop meeting.
Thanks, Vince.
Thanks, Vince. Thanks, everybody, for your opinions. Infrastructure and asset management, Ms. Redzak.
So.
Showalter.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Redzak.
You got it. We're good.
right there.
Redzak.
May I screen share?
Yeah.
Um,
You have to do it.
it says disabled.
You have to go into security and uncheck that.
No,
Check
it's
the box.
always, I gotta click it on and then I gotta click it off and then I click it on.
Perfect, thank you. The first item in my agenda
me.
for tonight. It works now, so we're good. Is updates on infrastructure grants. So basically, I just wanted to expand a bit on what Matt said about the multimodal application. Our committee will meet next week, but I just shared with him some of the active corridors that were identified during our active transportation plan. So perhaps we can look at possibly tying in those additional spots with within the scope of this grant. And Matt, I wanted to ask, I just thought of this. The active corridors does also include some sidewalks that are in disrepair. Many of them are like on Jones Street, like to Giant Eagle and other thoroughfares that are heavily used intersecting with the business district. Is that something that could be included within the scope of the multimodal?
We can look at it a little bit more. I mean, it does focus on pedestrian and pedestrian safety is one of their key points. Connectivity is one.
Great.
So I mean, we can look to see what the costs come in. I was focusing on the connectivity of the parks first.
Great.
Like I said, I didn't have an opportunity to necessarily in-depth review that to see how many of the ramps and how much of the sidewalk would actually need replaced. If it turns out to be relatively good condition, then we can obviously expand from there.
Okay, great. It's great. Also, you'll be at our workshop meeting because after our committee meets next week, we can maybe talk about that a bit as well with you. Okay, great. The other one that we had communicated about is another federal grant called Safe Streets for All. I don't have a ton of information about that at this time, except that it would require a 20% match from non-federal sources. So that could be in-house, or we could pair it with another opportunity. So more on that hopefully coming soon.
Would you say the percentage was?
20%.
And the multimodal was state,
Yeah,
so we might be able to
work
kinda
together.
link them together.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. But isn't most multimodals no match? Is that the one now?
No, it's
30.
70-30,
Oh, okay.
and you can request for that 30 to be reduced. It's not guaranteed though.
okay, great. Yep, thanks Stephanie for also including an update on the Champions project I've been working on.
What did you?
I don't know what's happening.
I think we're talking about Zoom, Fallon. Here it is.
It's God.
Yeah.
That's a sign.
It's a higher power speaking.
I just left the meeting. I don't know what's happening. About me. Who is? So
I didn't touch anything.
we have YouTube playing. Okay.
Didn't touch anything.
Motion at a meeting.
Technical failure. There you go.
Can you exit Zoom and rejoin? Should we exit Zoom and rejoin?
No, because I'm hooked up to YouTube Live. Then we would have to wait for all these guys to get back in. And we have to wait until everybody gets back on. I'll be here for that long. Stop pushing on my 10 more minutes.
Can we disconnect the speaker? Can we disconnect the speaker so we're not hearing it?
I'm not gonna hear.
Just the speaker, like, can we keep the microphone on, but disconnect the speaker?
I'm sitting.
Hmm.
Can we disconnect the speaker? Can we disconnect the speaker?
Restart it.
That, then you do this live.
They just stop the recording for a second. The Zoom recording.
Oh, well, Zoom did.
So we're gonna have to end the Zoom meeting. We'll just upload it to YouTube the traditional way.
What?
Does anybody know how to do that?
Do what?
With Tristan answering Zoom?
Oh, yeah, we can upload it.
So we're gonna have to end the Zoom meeting. We'll just upload it to YouTube the traditional way.
Do you want me to end the meeting?
Yes.
We're ending the Zoom.